My best advice to incoming students is to be open and to stay open. The students I love are the ones I meet before they've made a decision even, and they'll meet me in sort of a fair, university fair, or on a visit to the campus, and I'll say, what are you interested in? And they'll say, no. They have no idea, and they're so scared to admit that they're not sure what they want to do. And then I'll meet some that will give me an answer. And then I can see that that's literally the thing that they've been saying over and over. And so the advice is, here you had the opportunity I didn't have, that I fought for, which is a place where you can take a different direction. You can come in thinking you want to do one thing, and it's not impossible in that first year to just experiment, open up, see what other things you can do. We encourage that. Were you always interested in philosophy? Take a class in philosophy and see if you like that, right? What about a language? You really wanted to understand a bit more about Indigenous language and culture? Take a class. We're not committing to that, but what you're doing is remaining open to the idea that this could be something that I love. And you can mix it up here. It's so much easier. You don't have to fight. You can say, I want to do this weird thing and that weird thing, and it can come together. From the beginning of a class to the end of a class, if I can have students see in themselves and reflect, I grew so much. That's what I'm interested in. What did you learn about you? What did you learn about your capacity and your ability? For me to send them out of the university with that kind of confidence and the ability to understand they may not have met something, a new app, a new technology, it doesn't matter. They know they can face it, and they've dealt with it before, and they will deal with it again, and they will succeed.
Good evening, everyone. I gotta say, I absolutely love that countdown. It's amazing. I'm excited. Welcome this evening to the University of Toronto, Mississauga Discover Days. And my name is Deborah Peart. I am a student recruitment officer with the University of Toronto, Mississauga. And I have with me a couple of my best buddies. Hey, Sadaf, how are you doing?
I'm doing so great. Just excited to see all these people in the chat, where they're coming from today. Super exciting.
Sadaf, can you go ahead and introduce yourself?
I sure can. Hi, everyone. My name is Sadaf, and I am the International Recruitment and Admissions Officer here at the University of Toronto. I'm also a very proud alum, graduating a few years back, but happy to be back at my alma mater.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Sadaf. And Arianne, you're here this evening as well. Arianne, can you introduce yourself to everybody?
Of course. So hi, everyone. My name is Arianne, and I'm the student ambassador who will be giving you a campus tour today. Happy to meet you all.
Thank you so much, Sadaf. Arianne, we're going to see them a little bit later. But for now, you're going to be joining me to learn a little bit more about the University of Toronto, Mississauga. First things first, I do want to present to you the University of Toronto Land Acknowledgement. We wish to acknowledge this land on which the University of Toronto operates. For thousands of years, it has been the traditional land of the Huron-Wendat, the Seneca, and most recently, the Mississaugas of the Credit River. Today, this meeting place is still the home to many Indigenous people from across Turtle Island, and we are grateful to have the opportunity to work on this land. Now, I do want to talk about a few quick facts about the University of Toronto, Mississauga. Our campus was established in 1967. And when we started out, we had about 155 undergraduate students all in one building, which we used to call the North Building. But now we have over 15,000 undergraduates on the UTM campus, which equates us to a mid-sized university. Not only that, we're a really close-knit community as well. And I'm going to tell you more about UTM as we go on. The other thing I want to point out about UTM is that we have over 60,000 alumni located globally. And the University of Toronto has over 600,000 alumni located globally. These people would definitely be a part of your network as a student at the University of Toronto. In addition to that, we do have some joint programs with Sheridan College. They would be theater and drama, as well as art and art history. And forensic science is a program that's unique to the Mississauga campus. Now, why should you choose the University of Toronto, Mississauga? Well, we have a number of good reasons. Not only are you going to learn academics at UTM, but you're also going to get that hands-on experience, that practical experience as well. We do in fact have the experiential education unit where you can get that hands-on practical experience. The other thing about UTM is that we have about 223 acres of green space, and we also have the Credit River. This is a part of our community, and there's a lot of research that happens within this environment as well. And I also have to say, I do believe that the UTM campus is the most state-of-the-art campus of all three. Sustainability is something that's very important to us. So every time we put up a new building, we're thinking about sustainability. I mentioned the North Building earlier. That building was actually torn down and replaced by another building. And within that new building, 80% of the materials that were used were from the North Building. So sustainability is very important to us, our close-knit community. The other thing I had mentioned to you a little bit earlier was about forensic science. Forensic science is a unique program to UTM, as is CCIT and theater and drama. You can't find those on any other campus at University of Toronto. We also have that close-knit community. Once again, I want to mention that. Within that community, you're going to see the same people throughout your week. It's a lot easier for you to develop a community, several different communities at UTM. You can do that through student clubs, student government, but I'm going to touch on that again as well. Now, we do have different undergraduate programs available at UTM. We have the arts, sciences, and business. But what's interesting about this is that you have the opportunity to build your degree, to design it in a particular way that may in fact suit a particular niche. So you could do a specialist, which means the majority of your credits are going to go toward that specialization. You could do a double major, or maybe you might want to do a major double minor. But you could do the arts, the sciences, or business. Now, it's really important that you do get involved outside of the classroom as well. When you get involved in co-curricular and extracurricular activities, this is actually contributing to what you're learning in the classroom. So you can get involved with student clubs. We have student clubs that vary from the African Students Association all the way down to Zero Waste UTM. So there's a lot of different student groups for you to get involved with, as well as student government or academic groups are also available to you. It's important that you seize those opportunities as they are presented to you as well. We do have opportunities for you to network with alumni as well on the campus. So it's important that you get involved and you seize those opportunities. I also want you to know about the different resources that are available to you as well. When I talk about you designing your undergraduate studies, you're not going to necessarily do this by yourself. There are academic advisors who are available to you, and there are financial advisors as well. And we do have the Academic Skills Center. So we're going to help you when it comes to developing your writing skills, your math skills, writing essays. We're also there when it comes to developing your career aspirations through the Career Center, resume writing, and interview skills. There's also the international student experience. So the University of Toronto is recognized around the world. And because we are recognized around the world, that means that we attract the brightest minds from around the world, including students and faculty. We have over 3,000 international students located on the UTM campus. And we do have partnerships with over 120 different institutions globally. So depending on your program of study, you may very well be able to go and study at a different university in a different country as a part of your UTM degree. And we also have 40 different countries represented as well. Now, if you are in this diverse community where you have international students from around the world, it diversifies your academic experience. You're actually going to learn about different concepts, different ideas, different cultures, different nations. These are all major contributing factors to your degree. The other thing I want to point out as well is about sports and recreation at UTM. Now, we do have varsity sports that are available at UTM, anything from basketball to, as you can see, volleyball. Now, currently, we do have a situation where we are socially distancing, which means that we're opened up to virtual experiences as well. So we do have esports available at UTM where students sign up and through their PlayStations and their Xboxes, they're actually taking part in tournaments. And we do have a virtual opportunity for personal training. There are classes available virtually as well. And we've got yoga, stretching, all available online. Now, when it comes to student housing is guaranteed for first-year students. Just make sure that you're meeting all of the deadlines that are required. For example, at the end of March, you are required to indicate your interest in residence, but you're not necessarily committed to it. The thing about residence is that you do have an opportunity to have a Don and a peer leader. And these people are responsible to make sure that you do have a social life. They connect you socially. They're also responsible when it comes to your well-being and your academics as well. So there are study groups that are available through residence. We have over 1,500 residence spaces as well. And you're going to find community available for you there. We do have automatic awards, entrances, and scholarships, so students are automatically considered for these awards. It starts at 90% and goes up incrementally. 95% and higher, you could actually earn $12,000 over a 4-year span. The other thing to keep in mind as well is that we do have the Lester B. Pearson Award for international students, and that covers the full cost of residence, tuition, books, incidental fees. And equal to that is the National Scholarship Award for students as well, who are domestic. And that once again covers residence and tuition fees. Now, I hope you're all familiar with your Join U of T portal. After you've applied to the University of Toronto, we will respond with an email that will take you to your Join U of T portal link that you're going to activate. And through the Join U of T portal link, we're going to be communicating with you. This is also where you're going to find your letter of offer that contains the most important terms and conditions of your offer. So everything is going to be found in your Join U of T portal. I strongly suggest that if you are in this stage right now, please make sure that you're checking your Join U of T portal to see if there are any communications from us or if there's any additional documentation, let's say, that's required of you for your application or supplementary application as well, which is an additional application. So for example, theater and drama at UTM is the only program that has a supplementary application in the form of an audition. But as I had mentioned earlier, residence is also a supplementary application that does in fact have a deadline. Now, speaking of deadlines, let's take a look at the application timeline. So in January, this year, January 15th, 2021, was the deadline for applications, but we strongly suggest that you apply as soon as possible through the OUAC portal. January to April are those supplementary applications that I was talking about. How are you going to know if you have a supplementary application and what the deadline is? That's right, your Join U of T portal. Then February to May, we are sending out offers on a continuous basis. By the end of May, you will definitely hear from the University of Toronto with regard to your application. And then come June 1st, what say you? Are you with us? At UTM. Now, it's very easy for you to connect with us at UTM as well. We have our phone number there, and you know what else I strongly suggest you do? Follow us on Instagram, follow us on Facebook. We have a lot that's going on there so that you can actually feel that you're already a part of our community. Now, I would love to bring Arianne on if I could. Arianne, you're going to expand on everything I just talked about, right?
Yep.
You're going to do it in a campus tour, correct?
Correct.
I am absolutely excited, and you're going to see me later.
All right. Thanks, Deborah, for that amazing presentation. I'm very excited to give you this campus tour. So once again, hi, everyone. My name is Arianne, and I'm a third-year student pursuing a double major in political science and French studies. So just a little bit about me. I am a student ambassador for community engagement for student recruitment and admissions, which is part of the work study program. And I am also the VP Finance for the Filipino Student Association. And the picture you're seeing right now is actually me and my family. I was born in the Philippines and we moved to Canada when I was 8. So I'll be talking more in depth about my involvements throughout my tour. I'll be taking you through all the buildings on campus, as well as where I typically grab a bite to eat and where my favorite study spots are. So up first is the Knepp Center and Innovation Complex. So this is the Knepp Center and Innovation Complex. And before I was studying political science and French, I actually applied for and got into commerce in my first year. And this is because my career goal was to become a lawyer, and I decided maybe corporate law is of my interest. So I applied to commerce, but at the same time, in addition to my commerce courses, I was also taking political science and French courses as electives. The more I took these courses, the more I learned that commerce is not for me. And so I decided to fully pursue political science and French. So one of the courses that I had to take in first year was Eco 100, which is Introduction to Economics. And it's a very popular first year course, as you can see on the slides. That's KN 137. That's a lecture hall where it was held. And typically in first year, your lectures are going to be pretty large, about 300 plus students like this one, or it could be up to 500 students. But if that is intimidating for you, of course, you're going to get the opportunity to talk to your professors and TAs. So another resource you can find in the Knepp Center is the Eco 100, is the Eco Aid Room, where I really went to talk to my professors, as well as teaching assistants, or more commonly known as TAs. And this is where they have their office hours. I went here a lot in my first and second year because I was taking a lot of eco courses and found that it helped me a lot. Of course, you'll also find the Office of the Registrar here, and this is where you can go for academic advising, financial advising, and you'll learn that the Office of Student Recruitment and Admissions is a division within the Office of the Registrar. So I work as a student ambassador, and I help out with brainstorming initiatives to engage with prospective students like you. And you may have seen me in the following programming, like the UTM student panel Ask Me Anything, got to talk to current students and share their experiences with you. And I also help organize the UTM Minute feature on our Instagram. So if you've seen those videos, I've been helping out with those. But in the past, I've also worked as a tour ambassador for the office, where I got to volunteer some of my time to give students and their families a tour of the campus. And in this tour, you'll find that many of the buildings on campus are actually connected. So let's head to the William G. Davis building. So this is the William G. Davis building, and it was actually recently renovated this year. And some of the resources you can find here are the Center for Student Engagement. So in the last academic school year, I worked for the CSE as a peer leadership coach, where I facilitated the UTM Lead workshops. Essentially, they're a series of leadership seminars where students can gain skills outside of the classroom. Activities like this can earn you a notation on your co-curricular record, or CCR, and it's a document that summarizes your involvements throughout your undergraduate career. They also organize lots of events for students, one of which is a series of academic department orientations, or ADOs, during orientation week. So I attended the Commerce ADO, and I learned a lot about how to leverage my resources to have a successful first year. You can also find the Career Center here, and as Deborah mentioned earlier, they do organize mock interviews as well as resume critiques. And I feel that because I attended their workshops, I earned skills, which presented me as a strong candidate and led me to be hired for work-study jobs. But now let's head to the Rock to learn more about the athletics facilities. So this is the Recreation, Athletics, and Wellness Center, or as I mentioned earlier, the ROC, and it's a facility that includes a lot of resources. So before the pandemic, I actually would try to squeeze in a little bit of my time to work out. So I'd go to the gym, and it's great because to be able to access these facilities, it's just included in your incidental fees, which are already paid for with your tuition. All you need to do is you need to scan your T card, which is a student card, and you'll be able to access the facilities. You can also find that there's lots of drop-in classes as well. So I think in previous years, they've had Zumba. I've been to the Yoga Lattes classes before too. But what I also like about the Rock is that they also have women's only hours. So a portion of the gym is closed off and only those who identify as female are able to come in. And I've done this in the past. But ever since the pandemic, they've moved their programming online, which students can still participate in. But next, we'll be headed over to the Communication, Culture, and Technology building. This is the Communication, Culture, and Technology building, or CCT. And what you can find here is CC 1080, which is one of the two largest lecture halls on campus, holds a maximum of 500 students. So as I did mention earlier, first year classes do tend to be large, like my MGM 101 class in first year. It's essentially an introduction to management functions, also another popular first year course. But although they tend to be large, you do have the opportunity in your tutorials to go more in depth with the material and ask your TAs questions. And lots of first year students do have to take these introductory courses, which is why they're so large. But that's why we encourage students to go to their tutorials and their practicals so that you can interact with more peers and faculty so you can get that hands-on learning. You'll also be finding the UTM service desk, and this service desk is important even before you start your first year because this is actually how I got my T card as well as how I set up my U Toronto email. And with your T card, you're able to access services like shuttle, printing, and your U Toronto email is essentially how your professors contact you. But you'll find that this building is now connected to the Hazel McCallion Academic Learning Center. This is the Hazel McCallion Academic Learning Center, more commonly referred to as HMALC or simply the library. A lot of students to go here to study, and also great benefit. There's a Starbucks right across. You can just go there to grab a quick cup of coffee. And here, the library is, again, it's a very popular place to study. So a lot of students study here, and I advise that you should come early to pick out a great spot. And it's also open 24/7 during exam season. So outside of the regular operating hours, if students wanted to come in and study, then we would just present our T card. We can also book study rooms here to study with friends or to have club meetings. And as great of a space as it is, I don't study here often, and I'll tell you about my favorite study space later. But my favorite resource here in the library is the Information and Loans Desk. I borrowed so many items, starting with course reserves. In my second year, I actually did not buy a single textbook. And one course that did need a textbook, it was available through course reserves. So I just borrowed it for 2 hours every week. And it was great because not only did I save money, but I also stayed on top of my work. I've also been able to borrow a calculator. I did have to take a math course in my first year, and if I ever forgot my calculator, at least I knew the library offered them. And in study rooms, you can actually find that there's whiteboards, so you can borrow whiteboard markers and erasers, and I just had fun like being able to write out my notes on the whiteboard. And lastly, this is very interesting, but in my second year, I had to take this course where I had to watch a movie. And I found out that my personal laptop did not have a DVD player. And I was like, how am I going to watch this movie? I found out that the library offered an external DVD player, and I was just able to plug that in. I was like, wow, I can borrow this for like 3 to 5 hours. And that really helped me because then I wouldn't have to take the movie home. I could just watch it on campus. But now let's make our way over to the instructional center. So this is the Instructional Center, or more commonly referred to as IB. And you'll find that there's actually no academic department affiliated with this building. It's full of lecture halls and lots of study spaces. So what you can find here is actually IB 110, which is a 500-seater hall. And you can find in this picture that it's been covered with, it's been covered like that now for the pandemic so that we can adhere to social distancing guidelines. But in my first year, I did have to take Mat 133, which is a first-year calculus course for commerce students. And it pretty much looks like this. Lots of students are in here listening to the lecture. And yeah, it seems intimidating, but you really do have that opportunity, as I mentioned earlier, to be able to talk to your professors one-on-one. And there's breaks and people stay after class to be able to talk to their profs. You can also find the shuttle to go downtown here. And I didn't actually take any courses at U of T St. George, but it was very convenient for commuting downtown. And what's great about it is that for UTM students only, it's paid for within your incidental fees in your tuition. So you don't have to pay fare every time you actually use it. So that was a great resource. And you can find lots of amazing food options in the IB building. You can go to Casada for burrito bowls. Subway, man, Subway has a special place in my heart, and it breaks my heart that I can't go there right now. But also you can find bento sushi, and you can see on the screen is actually a video of the rice bowl I've ordered before. I miss it too. But now let's get excited because we're going to learn about my favorite building on campus, Manjue and Demoen An. So this is the Manjue and Demoen An building, we commonly refer to as MN. And as I said earlier, it is my favorite building on campus. 90% of the time, you will probably find me here. So this is actually home to the departments of political science and language studies, and that's perfect because those are my programs. I'm a huge advocate of going to professors and TA's office hours, and it's super helpful because I really have the chance to hone in on the material I'm having trouble with, and it's a great way to build professional relationships with your professors. You can also find the Robert Gillespie Academic Skills Center, which, as Deborah did mention earlier as well, it's a great resource for essay writing and study skills, and they basically help you with any stage of the essay writing process. So I usually go here for help with my political science essays, and I've gone here even when I didn't know how to start an essay, to of course, when I was revising my essay. They also organize facilitated study groups, or FSGs, and they typically organize them for first-year courses, But surprisingly, for my FRE 272 course, which is about the structure of modern French or just French linguistics, it was a great opportunity for me to really get to know the peers in my class, as well as get to practice the material with students who have actually succeeded in this course before. And now what you can see on the slide is actually a time when Disney was filming Zombies 2 and MN was part of their set. And it was really great because I got to give families a campus tour when they were filming this. And I got to take them through the set inside. And it was just so cool because they were like, wow, like, they film movies here. And I even watched the movie when it went on Disney Plus. And I was like, wow, that's my campus, I'm so proud. Aside from that, there's also lots of study spaces. Again, it's very aesthetic and I just feel productive every time I'm in here. During weekends, before the pandemic, classrooms were vacant, so I could watch a movie on the large projector screens while I do my work. And yes, I came to campus even on weekends. That's just how much I love and miss it. And in first year, I actually took this course called UTM 195, which is Curiosity and Controlled Voyages of Discovery to North America. And that course was actually one of these active learning classrooms. So essentially, UTM One Scholars is a series of seminar courses, and they're able to give you an overview of research. And even though I wasn't a student taking any history courses, I got to learn about the history of Vikings and fossils that were discovered in Ontario. So that was pretty cool. And there's only 25 students in this course. So you have the opportunity to get to know your peers and your professor. And this picture actually shows you what the active learning classrooms look like. So it's not your traditional classroom. You're seated in groups of 6 to 8, and your professor's in the middle of the classroom. And there's lots of audio visual technology available. So you can see that every single whiteboard has a projector. And on the tables, you'll actually find that there's this thing that looks like a flying saucer, but it's actually a microphone. And it's great because in large lecture halls, if you want to participate, you kind of have to yell to have the professor hear you. But here, you kind of just need to speak into the microphone and problem solve. But now we're actually going to head on over to the building that's connected to MN, which is Deerfield Hall. So this is Deerfield Hall, and actually there was a naming contest when this building was first built, and they took submissions from everyone in the community, and a staff member actually suggested Deerfield Hall because it was fitting of our campus. And of course, actually in front of the field in front of Deerfield Hall, you'll find that there's a lot of deer hanging out, and it's just very fitting. No matter what year you're in, or even if you're a staff member, everyone always stops just to be able to see the deer because they're so cute. I love them. But here you'll also be able to find the Math Learning Center, which is a great resource for all students taking math courses. So again, I took Math 133 in my first year, and I found it to be really difficult. But what helped me a lot was the math learning skills that improved in this center. I basically got to talk to TAs during their office hours. And, it didn't even matter whether they were a TA for my course or another course. They still tried to help me out, and I was so grateful for that. And one of my profs also organized this drop-in study hour on certain days of the week, and he was able to guide us during assignments or help us out with any homework questions. You'll also find lots of study spaces here. So we were actually able to book a few study rooms for meeting. They're also designated meeting spaces, which is pretty cool. And of course, we'd have not one, but 2 Starbucks on campus. And this is great because, everybody goes to Starbucks to grab coffee, but now this way it's the line is divided and you have less waiting times. But now we're actually going to head on over to the final stop of our tour, which is the Student Center. So this is the Student Center, and it's actually the hub of all student life on campus. You can find the University of Toronto Mississauga Students Union, or the UTMSU, as well as CFRE Radio, which is the radio station at our campus. What the UTMSU does is they do a lot of student advocacy. So a petition circulated this past winter to get our winter break extended, and we actually won. So it was nice to be able to have that, especially with the pandemic. You'll also find lots of clubs and academic societies here. So I myself am part of the FSA, as I mentioned earlier. And what we do is we essentially try to promote our culture to Filipino students on campus, as well as those who may be interested in Filipino culture. How we've done this is that we've collaborated with other clubs to deliver events to students, ranging from meet and greets to all you can eat events. And we've also been able to collaborate with other FSAs in the other U of T campuses. So there's one in downtown and in Scarborough as well. And it's been so cool getting to know these other students that are still part of the U of T community, even though they're in a different campus. So that's what I do want to talk about really quickly, is that no matter which campus you go to, whether it's UTM, U of T St. George, or UTSC, you're still able to be part of all the student clubs on each of the campuses. And it's great that you're not limited at all. Student Center is also connected to the Blind Duck Pub, which is where you can buy food and Cha Time. So Cha Time is a really popular shop to grab bubble tea, and my go-to order is actually Cha Time Pearl Milk Tea. Yeah, missed that too. But the Blind Duck Pub also holds pub nights. So actually in my first year, there was a Halloween pub, and my friends and I dressed up as UTM cheerleaders, and we won best group costume. So that was a lot of fun. They also had the haunted house here. We also have these My Way U passes. So essentially, My Way is the Mississauga Transit, and the bus terminal is located close to the Knuff Center. But you actually pick up your U pass in the Student Center, which is great because it's already, once again, included in your incidental fees and your tuition. So you don't have to pay additional fare every time you use it. And that saves you a lot of money in the long run as well. So that actually brings me to the end of my tour. I hope everyone got to learn a little bit more about the UTM campus through my lens as a current student. There's so much that UTM can offer you, and I hope you choose to attend classes here in the fall. Thank you for listening. I'd like to now bring back Deborah and Sadaf.
Arianne, that was wonderful. Sadaf, I don't know how you feel, Sadaf, but I have to tell you, looking at that campus, I truly miss it.
Oh, I miss it so much. And, even as my time as a student back when, it's changed and grown so much, but the heart of the community and the green space, a lot of people were actually commenting like how beautiful the campus was. So thank you for sharing that, Arianne.
Especially in the fall.
Yes, and the spring and the summer and the
winter.
All seasons.
I truly miss it. Thank you so much for that, Arianne. Hey, Sadaf.
Yes.
I'm just wondering, since you've been checking the chat and we have Jen and Fada back there also answering questions, but I'm wondering, was there anything that stuck out to you that you thought, hey, let's ask that live?
Yeah, so we've definitely had some really great chat questions. I have a list of things that we were going to ask live to both you and Arianne. To get things started, though, there has been a lot of questions. Of course, we're all in a global pandemic right now. Arianne, with your pictures, you showed some of the classroom and the spaces, but I'm wondering if I could actually turn it over to Deborah to talk about maybe how the university's adapted to COVID with the classes, and then maybe, Arianne, you can then elaborate with your current experience.
Great. Thank you so much, Sadaf. So currently we do have social spacing that is on the campus. We're very aware of that. So there are some courses that students can in fact take online, but there are some courses that maybe a student might have to come on campus for. And the classrooms are actually spaced as well. So there are designated spaces within classrooms where students can actually sit. So we're very aware of making sure that there is social distancing on campus. And there are a number of students who are taking online courses. And Arianne, I'm just wondering, for you, are you taking any online courses? And what's it like for you?
Actually, all of my courses are online, and I really thought that it would be a lot to manage, but like I'm a person who seeks out a lot of resources. So it's been great to be able to have professors who are really kind and have been adjusting, especially with as project deadlines, they've been really understanding that sometimes there are going to be delays, especially because of the pandemic. But, the experience is still there, especially in my poli-sci courses, I'm still able to get to know my TAs, get to know my peers, have great discussion. and we use Zoom and Blackboard Collaborate as our resources, and those have been just as, it's not the same as the in-person classes, but you're still not missing out as much, even with like the pandemic and online classes.
Did you find that there was a little bit of an adjustment moving from in-class to online for you? And what was that like?
Yeah, there was a bit of an adjustment, especially with learning how to manage my time and priorities, because, when you're on campus, you're able to have a change in environment. You get to study at the library, you go to class at MN or Deerfield or Davis. You have these different places, but when you're at home, like I'm just in my bedroom. But at the same time, it's like I've been able to like, okay, really go into my journal, really these are my priorities, these are things I have to do. And another great thing I've done is like with my friends, we know we miss that social interaction. So we organize these like study times where we just kind of talk and take breaks and like be able to do our work, even though we're studying in different programs.
Nice.
That's definitely amazing. And Arianne, you touched upon a point that actually Devinky was asking. So you're talking about connecting with your professors, your peers. First of all, it seems a little bit scary because these are the people that are the top of their field. So how did you first approach connecting with the professor? And maybe if you can also elaborate, how do office hours work?
Yeah, so I will be honest, like when I was in first year, I was a little bit scared as well to go to my professors and like have one-on-one conversation. But actually what I started with was I mentioned in my presentation that after class, like I would stay even a little bit, because even though you have back-to-back classes, you have that 10-minute time before your next class starts. So I would just stay and ask questions and like really get to know my prof. And then once I've reached that comfort level, I was able to be like, okay, when is this professor's office hours? Okay, I'm going to go and like, I'm going to bring my questions and like really get to know them, And essentially what happens, like how office hours actually work is that on your not your timetable, sorry, your course syllabus. So it actually states there what time the professor will be available. And if it was in person, there would be a room associated with it. Like that's where you go for their office. But virtually, it's either like a Zoom link or on Blackboard Collaborate. And it's just like maybe 1 or 2 hours, once or twice a week. And you really just go there and you ask your questions. And it's meant to be just a place for you to maybe ask questions that you're not comfortable with asking in front of the rest of the class.
Arianne, can I just add something?
Yeah.
From my understanding, you don't even have to talk about coursework with these professors.
You actually don't. Yeah.
You don't. You can talk about anything, right?
Yes, that's very correct. Yeah.
This is actually an opportunity to network, let's say.
Yep, that's why I really do recommend going to office hours, because you get to build that professional relationship and get to know who your professor is when they're not lecturing. So it's great.
That's really great. And, talking about these different programs or different ideas, Deborah, we've had a few questions of people just wanting a bit more clarification on how majors, double majors, minors work. So if you're interested in a program, but that's not where you were admitted, what resources are available for students?
So what a student does is when they're applying into an admissions category, they are going to choose the program of study that interests them. So they do need to have the prerequisites required for that program of study from grade 12. In your first year, you're not actually in that program of study. In your first year, you're actually taking foundational courses. And when you take those courses, it would make you eligible to select that program of study. But you also have electives in your first year. So in your first year, you're actually able to move around, check out other programs of study, and see, maybe I might want to change my mind. And in that instance, you could, in fact, apply to a different program of study as long as you have the prerequisites to do so. You think that answered the question, Siddharth?
I think absolutely. And there was quite a few questions about that. So I think that definitely hit home. So if you do have follow-up questions, you're more than welcome to answer it and ask it in the chat. And we have Jennifer, Fada, and Tara there that can help you elaborate further if you need it. Now, speaking still like more to the admissions side, there have been some questions about scholarships in general, and if there are opportunities to still apply for scholarships. So maybe the automatic as well as the application-based ones, Deborah.
So the admissions portfolio, the deadline has passed for that. That was actually in February. But there are other opportunities to actually apply for scholarships. So I'm hoping maybe somebody on the back end could throw into the chat the Awards Explorer website that we have. And in that website, it's got scholarships available depending on campus, depending on program. And what you can do is put a filter word into the database and see what scholarships come up and which are available for you to apply for. You can also go onto the UTM website and take a look and see what different community scholarships are available and see what the deadlines are for those as well. I also want you to consider looking within your community as well, a community center, let's say, maybe a place of worship, maybe a place where your parents might be employed, or corporate scholarships. So there are also those available for you, and there's a lot of money there. So when it comes to admission scholarships, we are considering students automatically, and it starts at 90% and it goes up incrementally. It'll take approximately a week, maybe up to 10 days for a student to find out whether or not they received an entrance scholarship automatically.
Thank you so much, Deborah. And, kind of sticking to the theme of money, Zoe asked, and maybe Arianne, I'll direct this to you, you mentioned right from the get-go, you had a job on campus. So could you maybe expand on Zoe's question about work-study positions on campus?
Yep. So Zoe, there's a lot of work study positions available. I did mention that before I was at my current position. There's the International Education Center. There's the Center for Student Engagement as well, which I actually worked for. And I did mention that I got to hold these leadership seminars. And essentially what you can do is that it's so great because they do cater to your timetable. So it's not, you don't get assigned hours. They are flexible in the sense that, okay, when are you free? Okay, how about you work 2 hours this day? And since you're more free this day, you can work 4 hours. And essentially that's great because you're able to balance your work responsibilities as well as your academic responsibilities. So that's what I really enjoy about it. And you only work 10 to 12 hours maximum per week. So you're able to balance your work and your academic responsibilities.
And Arianne, you get to see behind the scenes, right?
Yes, I do, because if you've ever called the office, chances are I've picked up the phone and I've helped you out. So it's nice to finally put a face to who you're talking to, right?
Yes.
That's great. And, really following closely with Davinki's other question about the club. So you also mentioned you were part of a particular club. Could you speak a bit more about the various clubs on campus? Are they all cultural based? Are there opportunities to expand?
Yeah, so actually there's 120 plus clubs and academic societies available just at UTM alone. And, in your first month, so September, that's actually when Clubs Week happens. And every club on campus is going to table and really give you that opportunity to get to know them and what their club does. And I do recommend as well that right from your first year, if you have a club that you're passionate about, you should apply to become an executive, because first year is really, you should get involved right away. And that's what I hear a lot from upper year students. They really wish that they got involved in their first year. So you're hearing it from me now, you should definitely get involved. But in terms of the types of clubs available, so there's culture clubs, as I mentioned. There's even several dance clubs. So there's Mnemonic, which is a hip hop dance team. There's a UTM dance team. And then there's Rhythm Performing Arts, who does more on the cultural dances side. And there's also different types of communities. So let's say you're someone who's interested in music and you want to meet other people who are also interested in music. There's the Harmonics Music Club. So that club exists as well. Depending on your interest, there's probably going to be 99% a club there. And if it's not there, you do have the opportunity with the UTMSU and CSE to create a club of your own.
Arianne, how do people find out about clubs a week?
Yes. So there's lots of resources. Definitely attend your orientation events. So I believe there's also going to be a new student's guide that will really tell you more about types of resources available. If you visit the utmsu.ca website, that has a list of all the clubs available on campus. There's also faith clubs. Really, you're going to get a lot of emails from the UTM, and basically they'll tell you about all these different resources. And CSE, again, also organizes lots of orientation events. So with the academic department orientations I was talking about, not only will you get to hear from professors what kind of material you learn, you're going to be learning from student leaders as well, like who are currently in the program, and they're part of the executive team of, like, let's say, the academic society. So you'll hear a lot about these everywhere you go. It's just a matter of seeking them out.
Wonderful. Sadaf, I just want to go back for a second to scholarships, because I did see a comment in the chat that asked about scholarships after first year, in-course scholarships, right? Second and third year. And this is something that actually exists. There are in-course scholarships, bursaries that are available for students as well. So if you went to see your financial advisor, let's say, perhaps they could tell you about different bursaries and scholarships. Are you familiar with that, Arianne? In-course scholarships?
Yes, they do exist.
They do.
I love it. Arianne, talking a bit more about the different experiences, I'm going to expand Crit's question a little bit past what he's asked. Can you speak a bit more about internships, externships, research opportunities? So apart from the work-study program, what are some of the other opportunities for experience at University of Toronto, Mississauga?
So I would say really start with like volunteering. So CSE, as well as the student recruitment and admissions, we're always looking for volunteers. You can become a tour ambassador right from your first year. So volunteering is really that way for you to get that experience firsthand. And then there's also something called an ROP, or a research opportunity program, and lots of courses give you this opportunity to earn course credit and to be able to do research alongside with a professor. And as Sadaf mentioned, there's also internship courses. So those internship courses give you like a placement. And hopefully I get to do one in my poli-sci courses. That's something I'm looking into. But you do have the opportunity to apply for those as long as you meet like the prerequisites. And you also have extern. I believe the Career Center offers these job shadowing programs, as well as networking nights. I can't even stress enough how important it is to go to networking nights. And Career Center always organizes one for each of the different programs. So you're able to meet people who are in careers that are related to the program you're studying.
Absolutely. Actually, your sister does a really great video for our team about the opportunities available. So if one of my colleagues can link the on-demand video about internships, externships, and research opportunities, that would be great. I'm going to kind of switch it over to this question. I'll actually answer it myself. So Bashar has asked about study permits. There's been a few questions from our international students, and that's fantastic that you're joining us today. It is a bit of a lengthy process, and we do have a lot of support available with our International Education Center. So what I'm going to recommend for all of our international students here today is to go onto our international online events webinar. Again, one of my colleagues will be able to link it in the chat. We have upcoming study permit sessions. So with our licensed immigration officer, they're going to go with you step by step to fill out your application. We also have general sessions with our international audience, student panels. So definitely check out that website for all of our upcoming events. The International Education Center also has one-to-one bookings. So again, you never have to pay for this out of pocket. This is part of you being a U of T student. So make sure that you're using those resources. As Arianne mentioned, there's so many resources. Sometimes we're not quite sure where to go, what to do. You can always ask us, and we'll help direct you to that space. Now, shifting gears a little bit, as we're somewhat near the end of time, I'm wondering, Deborah, if you could start as well, and then Arianne join, a bit about advice. So for students, we have students that are accepted, we have students that are still waiting for a decision, and definitely students who are looking to apply. Can you give some advice about these sort of next steps, research, what people should be doing? And Arianne, any advice that you have for students that are incoming as well?
Would you like me to start, Sadaf?
That would be great, Deborah.
I have to say, I feel that the most important advice that I can give an applicant at any stage, actually, in the application process is to please make sure that you're checking your Join U of T portal and that you're checking your emails. And when you're checking your emails, please make sure that you have a file specifically for that institution. So for UTM, you're going to have an email file in your account. And you're going to read the email, you're going to see what the actionable item is, and then you're going to file that email. So every communication that we send you, please make sure that you read it thoroughly, straight through, find out what the action item is, register, for a workshop or submitting documentation, whatever it is, and then file it away because you don't want to lose that information. And also check your Join U of T portal on a regular basis. What say you, Arianne?
For me, especially for incoming students, I have two pieces of advice. So first, I would start with definitely seek out those resources. You know, there's resources everywhere. And again, as Sadaf said, like if you don't know where to start, come to us for help. Like really, we're here to help you. And everyone on campus as well, whether that's a fellow student, someone part of the staff member, or a teaching professor, everyone is here and they want you to succeed. So really ask them for help. And the second piece of advice I have is go to these orientation events because, you know, it's really a great way to meet new people, especially people who could be part of your program or people who are not from Canada. Like you really have this opportunity to expand your network. So me personally, when I was coming in from grade 12 to first year, I was really scared because all my friends had applied to further universities because they wanted to live on residence. And me, I live in Mississauga, so I chose to go to UTM, and I was worried that I was missing out on some part of the experience. But once I went to orientation, got to know these clubs, met my group of friends, I was like, wow, the UTM community is so welcoming, and like I'm so happy that I chose this campus to pursue my undergraduate career.
You know, Arianne, a lot of students have told me how afraid they were first coming and actually having that first conversation, first talking to another student. And actually, it's actually pretty easy once you get used to it, right, Arianne?
Yeah, I have a funny story about that actually.
Oh,
So
do tell.
Yeah. So when I was in first year, I went to this program called Head Start. And essentially, when we had this like Facebook group that I believe our office created for first years to get to know each other. And I had been looking through these posts. I was like, wow, like all these people seem great. Like I can't wait to meet them. And there was a girl who actually sat beside me who I am still friends with to this day. And I was like, oh my gosh, like you made a post on the Facebook group, like, hi, my name is Arianne. Like I was so surprised at myself because I made that first step to get to know someone. And, you know, I don't regret that at all, even though it kind of came out awkward for her. But we're friends to this day. And I'm so grateful that I have these resources to really like meet people, you know?
I think that's amazing. And, you know, the other thing I want to say is that these friendships that you're developing are lifelong.
Yeah,
Long
really
after
are.
you graduate, you're still going to be, these people are your network.
Yep.
Arianne.
Absolutely. And just to add from my own experience as a student, alum, and now staff is, you know, what Deborah just said, like these people are part of your life forever. So if they're coming to U of T, likely very successful, just like you, the people that you're connecting with, the professors are my friends. Like I remember being scared to talk to them. And now I'm like, I count on them as friends and resources as I pursue some of my next steps. So really exciting to be on this journey. I wish I could kind of go back in time and do bits of it again. Maybe not the exams, but definitely parts of it again.
But you're still on campus at AF.
I'm still here. You can't get rid of me. I love it too much.
Beautiful UTM.
Beautiful UTM. So there aren't really any more questions in the chat, which is fantastic. Our team, Jennifer, Fada, and Tara have been answering all the different questions. We've been putting in links. So that's kind of it from the questions end. So I'll turn it back over to you, Deborah.
Thank you so much, Sadaf. That and Arianne, I really want to say thank you to both of you. Thank you to the UTM team behind the scenes, Jen, Fada, and Tara for answering all of those questions. I really hope that you were able to collect information that was important to you this evening. We truly love the University of Toronto, Mississauga. We do, in fact, bleed blue. And it was our pleasure to join you this evening for this last hour to tell you about our institution. So if you have any more questions, please don't hesitate to contact our office. And please follow us on Instagram, follow us on Facebook. And everyone, have a wonderful evening.
Bye.